Hey there, Knicks fans. How you doing? We made it. It's your boy, Jonathan Macri, with you for another episode of the Knicks Film School Podcast. It feels like we have crossed that imaginary barrier. It is officially, I'm going to say it, it is officially basketball season. I know we're not playing real games for about 4 weeks, 3.5 weeks, whatever it is. But we've come this far, and gosh darn it, we're going to celebrate. So happy media / content day to everybody out there. And to all of our Jewish friends, including the one I'm about to introduce right now. Happy Rosh Hashanah. Happy everything, Jeremy Cohen. I don't know which of those you want to celebrate first.
Yeah. Shana Tova to everyone who's celebrating for Rosh Hashanah, and not looking forward to going a day without eating next week, but that's future me's problem. So
that is a choice that you've made, my friend. There is no Catholic holiday, I don't think, that requires me to go. Although Claudia will probably remind me if there is. I'm forgetting. Requires me to go
every time I fast for Yom Kippur, I just think of Ramadan, and it makes me feel a lot better because that is something that I don't know if I would have the willpower to do, and so many people in this world can do. So I feel like I can go 25 hours without food or water, and I could just contemplate all my sins and try to repent, and then it's done. And then I can just, after that, start creating chaos in my life, and then wait a whole year to do it all over again. And that's the circle of life. I saw a great tweet today that was like, this person said something about being culturally Jewish, but not necessarily religiously. So they have all of like the anxiety and guilt that comes with the religion, but not God in their life to kind of forgive them in that sense. And I was like, yeah, I can see that.
It sounds like you get a get out of jail free card, but you put in this one day a year, and then you get to go crazy for the.
I don't have to go to work. It's great.
Thank you for that, by the way.
Yeah. You're welcome.
We all owe you one.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're here, right? We're here. We made it. What a summer it's been. Let us never speak about it again as long as we live. And we got to. I'm not even going to call it media day or content day. It was content / media weekend, because it really started with the president of the Knicks, Leon Rose, delivering some missives. I don't know what the proper word is for what that was. On what was that? Was it Saturday night, Sunday night? I don't know. It's all blending together. It was over the weekend.
Friday night.
There you go. So, time flies. And then continued today with Monica McNutt asking several Knicks some questions, and the Knicks social media team following those players around with cameras after they answered said questions, as they did all manner of things tasked of them by the Knicks. And then we got some actual Q&A from some of the media members, and there was some stuff that we'll talk about, but I'll just throw it to you. Any initial impressions of today, the Rose thing, anywhere you want to go?
Apathy.
Apathy.
This is the first year in a while where media day rolls around. It's like, oh, that's right. It's here. It's something that in the past I've really looked forward to. And it's not because, I'm super down on this team. I think it's fine. I don't really know what to make of it. It's a youth movement that's not a youth movement. So I'm hopeful that something can break through, obviously. There's not a lot of excitement. Like from Friday to today, it's all just standard PR answers that we could have written. No, right. That's all it is. It's just wanting to hear it from them. And I don't need to hear them. I think there's some people who really do. That's great. That's not me. I just don't care. What I care about is going to be how the players work on the court. And until then, I don't really care how much talking gets done. I just want their play to speak for it. So it's great that we got to see them all be happy. I was happy. I'm happy that it's the start of Knicks basketball coming back. So that's really exciting. But, I just, the words felt largely empty, and that's okay. That's what these media days are for. They are to kind of churn content and get us back into the swing of things. So,
well, unless you're unless you're in Phoenix right now, which maybe we'll touch on.
Yeah. or I mean, it seems like so many of these players do not have media training, and that their PR, the team PR people were just nowhere to be found because there were some comments that were just ridiculous and some that were egregious and some that were just absurd. And I'm really happy that the most boring thing I know. You see, the thing is,
I glanced at it on Twitter. Did he basically just like, he said something about Miles
Jeremy,
Bridges, right?
Would you like to?
Yeah. So this is the thing, though. All I saw was the context of the one tweet where LaMelo Ball was saying that he would want Miles Bridges back. But I think what's important and gets lost in a lot of the media day is the context that comes with these things. And I'm not speaking for LaMelo. I don't know what the context was before or after, but it could have been, was it that they were simply saying, do you want, what do you see with this team? And he's like, well, I know Miles is a talented player. Obviously, I would want him back, but knowing that there's a serious nature going on and not overlooking that. But I also really don't know. Like the Christian Wood, when he was told about a sixth man.
Oh, yeah. First I've heard of that.
Right. Yeah. And when you read it on Twitter, it's, wow, that's hilarious. Bad. Oh, my God. And when you see the clip, it actually seems like it's more tongue in cheek. And he says it almost sarcastically. And I could be reading into that wrong. He could have actually been dead serious about it, because then he tweeted LOL, which could have been like LOL at the Mavs, or is it LOL at the reaction to this because they're on the same page? Yeah. I mean, the idea of starting JaVale McGee over Christian Wood. All right, that's your prerogative, Dallas. I'm happy to have your pick as long as it's above 11, or 11 to 30, regardless. Yeah. It's still, media day can be challenging because when you want to give the right answer, it can be wrong. And when you give the wrong answer, it's really bad. So glad the Knicks didn't have anything that was really that chaotic. That's the best thing to take away from this.
Yeah. I think, I do want to just say we're recording this on Monday at about 7:00. Part of me feels like this is a little bit like a mediocre Marvel movie where the best part is the stinger, because one person who hasn't spoken yet is Tom Thibodeau, and he is going to, in all likelihood, have his first media availability after practice on Tuesday, which, I have no idea what's going to be asked of him. I have some ideas potentially about what might get brought up, but I would not be surprised if there was an eyebrow raising quote or two to come from Tibbs. That being said, talk about someone with media training. Tibbs knows what he's doing in front of a microphone. So anything that comes out from him is going to be very intentional, and I would not expect him to do anything to upset the apple cart. I'm so happy you said what you said, because I was coming on here and I was thinking about this today. I'm like, man, am I just getting too old for this shit? I was watching the clips and I'm reading the quotes and I'm like, this is all, I don't care about any of this. I'm not like, I remember, and this probably is not something I should admit because I was a 35 or 36-year-old man at the time, but like the media day in 2018 with all the dogs and with the W, of course, and all that bullshit. I ate that shit up, And I was like, after the summer that we had with the Durant thing, I needed that and I ate it all up and I was like, here we go. I could see looking at some of the stuff that was said today, like the RJ, we're going to shock the world. And that's probably the most notable, but probably a quarter or other from some of the players. Like, yeah, I could see getting gassed up about that. I'm not, it sounds like you're not. I have a feeling a lot of other Knicks fans are not. And they just kind of want to be like, all right, let's get to the games. I don't like the Rose thing. Should we talk about the Rose interview? Like, it happened. He did it. Didn't look altogether comfortable to me, but that's my opinion. Do you feel differently?
For full disclosure, I was on vacation at the time, and I haven't watched it much, and that's why, because I've seen a lot of.
Did you see the looking into camera bit?
I did not. See that.
Oh my god! But, my god! I was watching to go watch it. So I'll tell you this. So wait. Andrew has something for us.
Keep going.
Through the magic of the internet, I can go get it real quick and have Jeremy watch it live on the show.
But yeah,
we should do that. That would be a good fit. Yeah.
I prioritized my trip over seeing Leon Rose give the answers I was expecting Leon Rose to give.
Which says everything you need to know about it.
Right. And I eat up as much Knicks content as you can imagine. So that is why I just didn't need to do it. But I'm excited to see this reaction. Should be a lot of fun. But based on what he was saying, again, it was like the letter personified or more vocal. Let's see this bad boy.
There he is.
For the fans, that's you. First of all, I just want to say thank you very much for your unwavering support. You guys are truly the greatest fans in the world.
Thank you.
And I really think you're going to love this team. You're going to love rooting for this team. They're a young, hungry group of guys that are going to work every day to try to get better. They're going to bring it every night for you. They're going to do everything in their power to make you proud. And I want you also to know that the lift that you give them is appreciated and felt every night. There's nothing like a crowd at the Garden supporting the team. And I can't wait to see all of you soon. That's the camera for the fans. That's you.
So he can't wait to see all of us.
Wow. I regret not seeing that because I would have been a lot more excited for Media Day had I witnessed that bad boy beforehand.
Wait, hold on. Let me just make sure. Andrew, this is the camera with Jeremy in it?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Jeremy. I'm sorry.
Let me tell you about our malnourished children and how you must raise them. Give them the strength they need.
Yeah, so this was the thing. He didn't speak at Media Day. He didn't answer questions from the assembled media. And I want to just make very clear, anything we say that is like in any way tongue in cheek or like borderline disparaging about Media Day or anything like that, in no way is that should that be taken as like anything against like Monica McNutt or Alan Hahn, who did like a great job doing their jobs. This is what they are paid to do, is do these interviews, and like, but they are paid by MSG. So there's certain questions that you're probably not going to get. Did I mind it? Like, I'm in the same boat as most Knicks fans where it's like, I don't need to see Leon Rose squirm up there. That said, are there some answers that I kind of would have liked to hear? Yeah, sure. Am I losing sleep over it? No, that's really it.
Yeah. Again, I'm just going to say, I just don't care. It's the same thing. I understand why, and not to rehash conversations that have been had before. I get why members of the beat and the national media don't like the fact that they don't have the access that they want. I get that. At the same time, it is just a completely different beast than any other market, any other team. Does that mean they should not get a fair crack? No, not necessarily. But I know that they can also do their jobs from afar, the same way that we're doing ours right now. I respect it. I know they need things to do, but at the end of the day, if people really cared about the quotes like they did years ago when there was less access to content, when the Knicks were not trying to go the direct to consumer route, which they are trying to, especially when it comes to cutting the cord and all these different things, then I would understand why the access is so crucial. And the access is important, but we have more access as fans right now that it kind of fills the need. And you just have to adapt and you have to work with what you got. So the play is what matters.
We have a certain type of access. I don't want to do the whole media conversation now because I'm just not in the mood. But like, look, here's, and actually, this is a good transition to as Andrew told you, I did want to say a little something about the discourse surrounding the team already, and specifically around Tibbs. Leon said in a few different ways that he was excited about the kids. He was, excited about the young players on this team. He spoke very highly, obviously, of RJ Barrett. We extended him, this and that. And, and again, it's not, Alan Hahn's not going to sit up there and grill him about the reports that emanated from the Donovan Mitchell trade discussions. And he's not going to hold his feet to the fire on something like the fact that the RJ extension was tweeted out within whatever it was, 90 seconds of the Mitchell trade being announced. And like why they did that. And like, what is that, is that supposed to send a message or this and that? Like, that's not what Hahn's going to sit up there and do. Try to make Leon look bad. I mean, that's the difference. Right. And again, I'm not losing any sleep over that too much, but at the same time, I feel like the discourse already around things is basically like, and you alluded to it already, it's a youth movement, but it's not really a youth movement because first and foremost, look at the head coach. And I feel like there's a lot of people looking at the coach and being like, Tibbs is still here. Oh my God, this is just going to be the same shit where, see, my daughter does not, she thinks
very unhappy.
Like many fans feels like Tom Thibodeau should have been fired already. And I just want to sit here and say right now, I don't blame anybody at this point for being like, Tibbs should have lost his job. Tibbs should lose his job. The only thing I want to say is this, and I'm going to try to do it as quickly as possible. As you've pointed out many times, the front office is going to get one coach. Man, my daughter really does not like Tom Thibodeau, apparently. They're only they may only get one coach to fire, right? You've said this several times. Mm-hmm. Okay. They did not want to play that card yet, or they have not wanted to play that card yet. They could have played it at the All-Star break last year. Could have played it the day after the season ended. Could have played it any time over the summer. They play it right now if they want. They have not played that card. And I'm going to get back to why they haven't played that card in a second. What they have done, though, last summer, a year ago, summer of 2021, is they went out and signed not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, but 6 veterans to contracts that were guaranteed multi-years. Jeremy, I'm sure you know this already, but I'll ask it anyway. Do you know how many other teams signed guaranteed contracts to veterans of at least 2 years in the NBA last summer?
Not a lot.
That would be 0.
Yep.
The Knicks were the only ones. And then this summer, they went out, they gave Jalen Brunson $100 million, and they gave Isaiah Hartenstein his contract, 2 years guaranteed. They didn't dump Derrick Rose when I'm sure there was probably a place they could have dumped Derrick Rose. They did not pay a pick to dump Julius Randle when, how realistic was that? We don't really know. So I'm going to give them a little bit of a pass on that, although they did sign Randle to the extension, but I digress. Anyway, all these actions by the front office speak to what they want, and they want wins. They want the Knicks to win games. And the fact that they went and tried very hard, ostensibly, it would seem, to get Donovan Mitchell, including RJ Barrett in those discussions, would also seem like evidence of the fact that they very much want to win games. And then brings me back to the fact that Tibbs is already catching all the shit because if the season goes sideways and they're playing the vets too much, it's Tibbs. Yes, it's Tibbs. I mean, the first part, I'm done defending him. If he didn't see enough last year to know that he should be playing Emmanuel Quickley and Quentin Grimes and Obi Toppin bigger minutes, that's on him. He should get it by now. If he doesn't get it, then something's fucking wrong. He's an inflexible old coach that needs to go. Where I just want to recenter the conversation is for everybody at least to acknowledge that if you're going to put the blame there, also please put the blame where it deserves just as much, if not more so, to go. And that's on the front office, who, again, hired this man over the likes of Kenny Atkinson and other more developmental coaches because this is what they wanted. And it's what they still want. And you could say they haven't fired him because they still want wins, or you could say they haven't fired him yet because if they do, it makes their fannies a little hotter. The seats under their fannies a little hotter. Either way, it's not great. And I don't know. I feel like that hasn't been acknowledged. So then it brings me back to when Leon Rose doesn't get pressed on like, hey, you said a lot of flowery things about the kids and you love the kids and this and thing. Well, what about this report and that report that, and we didn't get that, which is, again, fine. I would just like us to all be open and honest about what's going on. That's it. That's all. I'm done. Off my soapbox. This is me burning my soapbox because I'm not going to get on it again the rest of the season. I'm done.
Yeah. I get that. I agree that there should be access, not in the same way because Tibbs is the head coach. He is the one who is going to get up there after every game and sometimes maybe even speaking before the games and just talking with members of the media. And I understand that there's a desire to at least hear from Leon Rose once a year. It's more that, like, I look at Sam Presti and how I go back and forth with the Thunder because on one hand, I understand that he saw there's a team that overachieved and he wanted to strip it to the studs. On the other hand, I see that they have a legitimately good player in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and the injuries that he suffers at the end of the season seem a bit embellished. And they are kind of the face of tanking, whereas a lot of other teams can get by without the pearl clutching. But even so, it feels like he kind of. I saw Benji was in the trenches fighting with Thunder.
Oh, yes, he was.
That was a nice little piece of my vacation when I did go on Twitter. But it's like, to me, I look at Sam Presti and he's got this war chest, obviously, but he's like a really great used car salesman. He's as open as possible. He gives you everything you need to know. And as a result, he's beloved. The process might be crap in the eyes of a lot of people because it's very easy to tear things down. It's harder to build them back up. And I think he is doing a good job of building them back up, but it's also hard to know because they're still in that process of collecting blue chip prospects. But he gets up and speaks for 2 hours. And again, he's praised for it, but the content of what he says doesn't necessarily align with what the NBA's product should be, which is to win games. No. And I respect that Tibbs does try to win games. Again, I shouldn't say every NBA coach wants to win games, but there's some who understand the position that they're in, where like Pop getting in front of the microphone and saying like, I probably shouldn't say this, but if you're going to Vegas, don't bet us to win the championship, because they're realistic. And I think the thing that bugs me with Tibbs is that, all right, so this front office wants to win games. Got it. Tibbs wants to win games. Obviously. Got that. The players want to win games, of course. Where and how do we judge Tibbs at the end of the season, right? Because to me, it's the only way that we can kind of foresee it is we'll know it when we see it. But, if they win games, it's obvious things are going the right direction. If they don't win games and they're in that, 31 to 39 win mark that you had talked about? Yeah. I think that was the range.
Let's call it like 34.
Sure.
Like the doomsday scenario, 34 to 35.
Are we basically, saying, well, Tibbs had a bunch of young players and that was the issue, which again, the young players can help the Knicks win. We've seen them do that ability, or is it the other way around, where I just don't know where the line is to judge him. And that's what's so frustrating for me and for this team as a whole, is that it's kind of an anything goes season. And yet I just don't know what that means in terms of expectations and accountability.
And that right there, to me, your confusion there, it rests on the front office. That's a front office. But
the front office is not going to come forth and be like, "Hey, we plan on winning this many games."
But you know how they could have come forth and said, "This is what we're really about." Fire Tibbs a year ago, hired a coach who was clearly going to be more about development. And hold on, not sign Jalen. I mean, look, we love Jalen Brunson. I love Jalen Brunson. You love Jalen Brunson. We're all high on Jalen Brunson. Not sign Jalen Brunson. Hand the starting point guard keys to Emmanuel quickly. Do what it takes to trade Julius Randle so Obi Toppin gets more time. Hey, how about this one? Not sign Isaiah Hartenstein. So the kid you uncovered with the 58th pick in the draft, Jericho Sims, gets time. He's now out of the rotation. Who signed Hartenstein? The front office did. Again, we've all sat here and praised a lot of these moves. I still praise them, but to me, it's like to then turn around and you're gonna bash Tibbs for fine, bash him for playing 48, 5 or 10 or 15 too many minutes. I'm all for it, but in the same breath, that's all I'm asking for. Bash Tibbs in the same breath. Also, make sure you equalize the blame. That's all that my point is.
But there's a difference. I know you know this. I know you're not necessarily arguing otherwise, but there's a very big difference between going forward and signing the best point guard the Knicks have seen in 15 years.
They should have done
versus giving Jericho Sims extended minutes.
There are subtle differences in how they've gone about this, but what is being asked for by some, it seems, is full-on youth movement, when nothing about how the front office is operated would seem that is what they have ever intended on doing at any point in time, other than if you want to say the last 15 to 20 games last season, which again, all the blame absolutely deserves to go to Tibbs for being a stubborn ass in terms of how he managed that situation.
But to me, the problem isn't a lack of a youth movement, because
it's not the problem for me either.
Right. But it's not, I don't want the team to be purged of veterans. It's just, I also see a surplus of younger players that need to get into the rotation. Yeah. But there are financial constraints that cause that to not happen, or there are players whose presence is simply not movable at this very moment. And I understand you because yes, it is in the front office, and that's not where I would disagree. It's more the matter of how you can find a way to not just purge the veterans, because again, it's not necessarily what I want. It's to find a cohesive mixing and matching that does work.
Yeah,
that's all.
No, I agree.
Like if you get Jalen Brunson, which the Knicks did, that's the other frustrating thing about this season. This offseason had so many what ifs and almost that it made what it was actually a solid offseason feel like crap. If you told me that the Knicks would turn rotation players, some of whom were just not playable or not wanted, into a starting caliber point guard, sign me up, right? Yeah. Especially on a good contract that descends, perfect. It's then they didn't get Jaden Ivey. They didn't get Donovan Mitchell. They didn't move Julius Randle. Evan Fournier is still here. Cam Reddish is still here. How you are able to find the right roles for these players, that's going to be up to Tibbs. And I don't envy the position that he is in and the position that the front office has put him in order to sift through these things. But it seems to me that what the front office is trying to do is create significant depth to the best of their abilities so that they can then cash those chips in without feeling like they're scraping the bottom of the barrel. And the way that they had to do it was by extending someone like Mitchell Robinson, going out and getting Jalen Brunson, Isaiah Hartenstein. The difference between the last year was that they ran it back, obviously, but the way that they wanted to operate, because the players were not performing to the level in which that they wanted them to, their values cratered.
Yeah,
and then
it created a whole problem.
Situation it turns out Alec Burks, his foot injury actually seems more significant, not serious, but more significant than it was let on.
Announced today he's going to miss 3 weeks.
Right. Yeah. Noel is still rehabbing from plantar fasciitis. So they pivoted. They saw something was wrong and they obviously made the mistake, but they corrected it by getting a better player and consolidating the roster a little bit. But they still haven't fully consolidated the roster to the level that we want it to be. And now until they do that, it's just going to feel like, meh.
And now it requires, I would argue, a coach with a deft, did I say that word correctly? Deft touch to really walk a fine line between, again, you want to have your cake and you want to eat it too. And I've defended the man up and down. He's not that coach. He's not that coach. He's not. So, and
if he's not that coach, then what is he doing here?
Exactly.
They want him here. So that's why he's here.
Okay. Yeah. That's all. We're in agreement, which is, 100%. I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was never a point where I think we differed, but I'm glad we could at least talk it through, get it out of the way, move on to next season. And because again, unless things go really downhill, I just don't see him getting fired mid-season. But mid-season, it's a daunting schedule in November, December. So
boy, they would have to be.
We'll see.
I was looking at the first 17 games. So they open in Memphis and then they have a 3-game homestand that they'll be favored in all those games. God willing, they win all those games. After that, they are going to be underdogs almost certainly in 10 of their next 13 games after that. And there's a lot of dicey ones in there where it's like, man, they better beat Detroit, on the road, and like they better beat Utah on the road, and like they better beat OKC at home, and like all these like the winnable games. Like, man, can you imagine if they drop some of those, because the rest of that early schedule through essentially the month of November, oh boy.
I can't imagine, by the way, because the Knicks lost 2 games to the Magic last year. They lost to the youngest rotation in NBA history.
They lost 2 games to the Thunder, 2 games to the Magic. Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure they had some other not great performances in there as well.